Welcome back to this week's episode of the Catching Flies podcast. I am Stephen Burton. We're kind of having a special podcast this week. Wasn't a lot going on in the world of sports. As we all know, the NFL is over. Major League Baseball is just getting started. And we honestly don't care too much for the NBA. So with that being said, we were trying to think of something we could do, have a little fun, and we had an overwhelming reaction to our How I Met Your Mother episode. So we thought we would do something a little similar and do our favorite sports movies this week. And so we're going to start off with just naming our favorite sports movies and kind of dive into them and have some fun facts and just have some fun. But here to break it all down with me, this man has a master's degree. He knows more about film than most of you. He is the Greek philosopher, Pete Makatis. What's going on, Petey?
Leonard Maltin, if you're watching, I apologize. You might know a little bit more than me. But hello, everybody. Welcome back to this week's episode of Catching Flies. And yes, Steven's right. We've always talked about being primarily a sports channel, but we want to dive into entertainment as well. We saw this as a happy little marriage, at least for this 1 week, to talk about some sports movies that we like. We're going to have a nice little fun mix of comedy movies, drama movies, different sports and whatnot. It should be fun. Hopefully you guys have fun along with us. And as usual, guys, before we get started, you're already here. Please, we ask of you, little subscribe button down there, bottom right corner underneath the screen. Go ahead and hit that for us. And we'd greatly appreciate it. It means a lot to us. It means a lot to our channel. It means a lot for our ability to grow. And we think we have a lot of great future ideas to discuss. We weren't always wanting to be a recap, review, preview type channel. The NFL playoffs kind of set that up for us. We like just talking about random topics as well. And, earlier we had, talked about the economic state of baseball, the state of soccer in the U.S., things like that. And, sports movies seem like a fun direction to go in. It's kind of that time of the year, too, where people cozy up in the cold weather and watch a good movie, although it's not so cold right now, but we're having a heat wave, so to speak, right now as far as February in the Midwest goes. But the premise remains. So again, thank you everybody for joining us this week. And we've each chosen 4 movies. We're each going to pick one and discuss it. Obviously, we're not going to cover every movie there is. And the one movie we're actually skipping, we're doing it on purpose, is Field of Dreams. And not that we don't love Field of Dreams. I absolutely love Field of Dreams. But we're not sure it's even a sports movie. Obviously, baseball's involved, but it seems like there's other stuff going on too. So we just have to throw a quick shout out to it. One of my all-time favorite movies, period. That one. But Steven, go ahead and get us started. What's the first movie on you? This isn't necessarily an order of our number one favorite either. So just because Steven's going with this number one doesn't mean it's number one. It might be, but not necessarily. What you got for us, Steve?
This is one of my all-time favorites. As a child, I think it might be the first sports movie I ever saw. Okay. It's way back. It involves Bugs Bunny. I got to go with Space Jam, a Michael Jordan edition, the Space Jam, not the new one.
Yep.
Yes. As a child, I was a huge Jordan fan growing up in the 90s, obviously, who wasn't? And Space Jam, I mean, I grew up on a small farm in middle of nowhere, Kentucky, and we didn't have a lot of TV, so we watched a ton of movies, and this movie really brought me into sports, got me playing basketball, and I ended up playing basketball from 3rd grade through high school. I mean, all through senior year, and a lot of it was due to this movie, believe it or not. Watching Michael Jordan, inspired me and created a lifelong love, and so I thought it started off. I know it's a little silly because it is based on a cartoon, but a lot of people kind of forget how huge the Looney Tunes really were. It was a craze. I mean, theme parks were made after him. And this movie just it really did kind of change my life as a kid.
That's
I loved it.
awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, I was a little older. I was in high
sure.
school when it came out, but it was kind of must see. I won't say must see TV, but must see movie. I mean, the whole
Yeah,
context of it, Jordan having retired or stopped playing basketball, whatever you want to call it, and then making his comeback with the Chicago Bulls, and this movie kind of showed us that transition. I mean, it
yeah,
bore a resemblance to real life on purpose, and it's got Bill Murray in it, so I'm kind of automatically in there at least to give it a try. But yeah,
definitely.
it was a phenomenon when it came out, and Michael Jordan was going to be in a movie, and who didn't? Yeah, like you said, I mean, Jordan was it. He was
And I
it.
I believe if this movie wouldn't have been so successful, you may not have seen as many athletes in movies too. It kind of led to all the athletes, especially nowadays, being in more and more shows and movies because at the time that wasn't going on a lot.
No, I guess the idea of them not being marketable, but hey, if you want someone marketable, you pick the right dude. And
Right.
and Michael Jordan was one of those guys where I don't care if you liked anything regarding sports, you knew who Michael Jordan was. Bottom line,
Absolutely.
and you may not even have known he played for Chicago. You may not have known his particular accolades, but you knew the name, you knew the face, you knew the voice.
Right.
And there would be a lot of people who watched Space Jam who weren't necessarily basketball fans. And he got people out to the movies. Like I said, he's marketable. If there's anyone who's ever been marketable, it's Michael Jordan. So yeah, the Space Jam was a fun movie. Uh, Speaking of fun movies, a movie that came out just a couple, 2, 3 years before that was The Sandlot, and
Uh,
The Sandlot is one of my favorites, sports or otherwise. I swear to you, when I left the movie theater, I thought they went back in time, put a camera on my life, and made The Sandlot. I swear, it just felt like that. We would do stuff like that, man. We'd go into the backyards and play ball, and we'd lose a ball, and it would ruin our day. And we did everything we could to find another ball, and we used whatever we could for bases. I mean, it's just outside of the carnival scene and the dog chase scene, it was pretty much my life. uh, it was great, and the characters, the quotables. Like, you're killing me, Smalls. 30 years later,
right.
is still something people say. Some people, I'm not even sure they know where the line actually comes from,
Oh,
and they
I
just
guarantee it.
like the way it sounds. And the protagonist of the movie, he being like the outcast, not knowing, trying to fit in. Come on, man. We've all been there at that age,
Yep.
as a anywhere between maybe like age 6 to 16, or maybe even in the current day. Everyone's a little different, but everyone's
Sure.
always felt like an outsider at some point in life. Whatever it might be, sports or otherwise. And it's fun to see the movie from his eyes, and for him to be befriended by the top player on the team, how they developed a lifelong friendship, and it revolved around the game of baseball. And for whatever anyone wants to say, baseball is America's pastime. It's the original American sport as far as a professional consciousness goes. In the 40s, 50s, before other sports really started kicking in and TV started kicking in, America was about baseball, and they all knew who Babe Ruth was. They all knew who Lou Gehrig was, and they all know who like Jimmy Fox was. It wasn't necessarily only the big stars. So yeah, The Sandlot really does that for me, and it's so fun. It's just fun, and the climactic moment of the game of the movie isn't even the big game. That's the best part for me. They mixed up the formula a little bit. Nothing wrong with the formula, but nothing wrong with mixing it up either. And the big game happened about a half hour before the game was over, before the movie was over, and they beat them snotty kids, with the fancy uniforms. It was great.
Right.
I love everything about that movie.
Yes, one of my all-time favorites too. As a kid, I used to watch it over and over and over again. Benny the Jet, and Lindy or Wendy Peppercorn, and
Wow, yeah.
the whole the swimming scene. How hilarious is that? Like, pretending you drown just so you can kiss the pretty lifeguard. There's a lot of great. To me, that's almost a perfect movie. Like, not the greatest, but just a perfect movie. Like,
Yeah.
the characters, the premise, everything was just so good. And the fair scene, there's just so many great memorable lines, like you said. And the Salt and the Swing.
Yeah,
You don't know who
right.
Babe Ruth is.
Yeah,
So
who
they
is
signed.
she?
Yeah. Who is she? She signed my dad's ball. Shit. And then to have Darth Vader show up out of nowhere,
Uh,
and just an incredible movie.
yeah, it's not
You
gonna
you
win
just can't
the
say enough.
yeah, it's not gonna win Best Picture at the Oscars, but that's not what it was
Right,
trying to do, you know? I mean,
right.
and
It was
could have got a little love, maybe it could have got talked about for a nomination because it's a good movie. And
it's a
I know
perfect kids movie.
they made some other ones after that. We don't necessarily pay attention
Yeah.
to those. I honestly didn't even know there were other Sandlot movies until like over 10 years later when I used to be a high school and a middle school teacher. And I told my class how much I liked that movie. They're like, "Oh, which one?" I'm like, "Talking about which one?"
Which
There's only one
there's
Sandlot
only
movie.
one.
Yeah, and I
Yeah.
look it up. I'm like, "Oh my god, there's like three Sandlot movies." No. So yeah, the Wendy Peppercorn. Do you remember in the movie's epilogue, we find out he marries her and has like 8, 9 kids
Right.
with her.
8 kids with yeah.
And
Uh,
just gonna be honest with y'all, when that movie came out 13 and 14 years old, she opened my eyes a little bit to the world too.
your first crush.
One of them for sure, but yeah, she actually wound up being a decent little actress throughout her career. I can't think of her name off the top of my head, but she played in Pleasantville.
Okay.
She was the lead character's girlfriend in the black and white portion of the movie. Yeah,
Okay.
with Tobey
Uh,
Maguire. Yeah,
well, I was gonna say a lot of those kids actually grew up to be in several movies.
yeah, a little here and there.
The catcher, or the heavier set kid with the
Ambo.
freckles. He was in so many like Disney movies I watched
Yeah,
as a kid, and this kind of started it for me. So it catapulted him definitely.
yeah,
Uh, another one of my space, no, sorry, another one of my favorite sports movies. I
yeah,
was reading the title over here. Uh, I got to go with Remember the Titans.
Okay.
This movie is very special to me. It came out when I was in fifth or sixth grade, and once everybody saw it and heard the name Gary Bertier, actually spawned a nickname for me that stuck with me to this day. A lot of my friends still call me Bertier. Um, and not just that, but I thought it encapsulated so many great, important parts of America, from the segregations to how football can truly bring together a community, a town, a fan base. Doesn't matter the color of your skin, your brotherhood, a family, and you fight for that family, and you fight together. And just, to me, the best football movie ever made. Like Denzel Washington was incredible in this movie. And this movie helped catapult a lot of careers as well. So to me, this was just a perfect sports movie, perfect football movie.
Yeah, man, Denzel Washington gonna make everything he's in better. I mean, there's no
Oh
other
yeah,
way, no other way to best describe that, I think. Yeah, remember the Titans? Football movies don't necessarily carry the same cachet as other sports movies. For some reason, football movies, if they're not like screwball comedies, they're usually not very successful. This was a
right,
very strong exception, and certainly an inspiring movie. It had a bigger message than just football, and that's good. That's really important. And it was based on a true story.
right,
And it clearly wasn't a documentary, so they're going to take
sure,
license with whatever they want to do. That's fine. It's a movie. Even documentaries can take a little creative license from time to time. But I do like that they didn't bring in a heavy hitter cast outside of Denzel. They wanted us to engage in the story the way everyone else did when it took place in real life. And it's easy to distract from that by putting all these big names out there. And kind of our introduction to this section of the world and to this scenario coincides with our introduction to a lot of the people in this cast. And I think that's a smart decision by the producers, the directors, the casting directors, whoever makes those ultimate decisions. But yeah, definitely an inspiring movie. with a great message. They take the time to develop the characters. They take the time to develop their relationships, which is,
Right.
the crux of the movie. So without that, we're just watching guys playing football. And, we can do that on Sunday. We can do that on YouTube on our own time. But to get this particular story, yeah, very well done movie.
And the scenes of the football parts were so great. Like
Yeah.
it was spot on from when I played football. Like I can vouch for it. Like a lot of those two a days and
Mm-hmm.
running a play over until you get it right, and then a team coming together. And you don't always like everybody on your team, but when you become like a brotherhood and respect each other, you become better as a team. And it just really hit so many aspects. I sat down and watched this movie with my daughter not too long ago, and I found myself just quoting so many great lines in it, and it'll stick with me forever. And this movie catapulted a lot of big careers. I mean, Ryan Gosling became huge after it. Um, there's the running back Petey ended up
Yeah.
becoming your nickname
Yep.
and becoming this lead star of Scrubs and several other comedies. And
Donald
Julius
Faison.
Campbell, yeah,
Yep.
Campbell was in a bunch of other stuff. I mean, Gary Bertier became Opie in Sons of Anarchy. This movie, but these guys all kind of got their start
Yep.
from this movie. And you know, Vader's son from Boy Meets World, Big Lou
Yeah.
Elastic, he was in this movie amongst every other movie of the 2000s. Like it's just so many great actors and lines. So this for me is probably my all-time favorite sports movie, like in general. But I definitely wanted to show it some love. So who's your number
Yeah,
two?
absolutely. Yeah, the second one on my list is also more in the drama category. It's not quite the realism behind its performance in the movie, the way we remember the title is. We're talking about Rocky, and we're talking about
Okay.
Rocky 4. Okay, I'm gonna throw some love to the entire Rocky series, minus a movie or two here or there, but for some reason, Rocky 4 always resonated with me, man. And I'm not even going to sit here and pretend it's necessarily objectively a good movie, because it's kind of okay. Half of it's montages, for crying out loud. But no, Rocky 4 hits it, man. It hits it, and it doesn't. It kind of got Dolph Lundgren's career started. Everyone else in the movie was firmly established and didn't need the boost, but Dolph Lundgren coming as Ivan Drago, he's one of my favorite movie villains, period. He
Oh,
doesn't say
definitely.
much, but what he says, man, I must break you. If he
I will break
dies,
you.
he dies. He didn't
He
have too many
died.
lines, but they all just hit really hard. And he's obviously really imposing
Right.
looking. And, I'm not going to lie, the whole nationalism behind the movie struck a chord with me and still kind of
Absolutely.
does. The US against the Soviet Union, but it's not man versus man. And the montages actually play a role in the movie, an important role, because of the music behind it. If you listen to the songs they chose, it's telling you it's not the people of those nations don't hate each other. It's just there's a conflict between political philosophy and whatnot. We don't want to get too deep into that, obviously, but
Sure.
that there is a way to come together. And some people think Rocky Balboa ended the Cold War. I'm kind of one of those people, obviously an exaggeration, but yeah, the big fight at the end, Rocky has more to overcome in this movie than anything else. And the one thing I loved about this movie that a lot of people forget happens is that he vacates the championship to fight
Right.
Drago. It wasn't about the title. It was about
Right.
stepping up, being a man, kind of looking after Apollo, poor Apollo.
I was gonna say
Uh,
avenging his friend.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, avenging to a degree, because I never looked at it as vengeance, because he's not trying to kill him. He just wants to beat him in a boxing match. So he
Right.
wants to have retribution, maybe,
Retribution.
instead of
Yeah.
I'm like, whatever word you want to use, it's a tough sell. Now, obviously, like I said, the boxing scenes themselves are not realistic. They're like basically like video games, right? Every punch is devastating. The sound effects are just like missiles hitting a building. But Rocky Balboa fixed that. They actually the fighting in that movie which was Rocky 6 technically. The fighting in that movie was more realistic. Something like you'd see in real box. But yeah, I got a soft spot for Rocky 4. Uh the staircase scene where Adrian's trying to tell him that he shouldn't fight him, and then she just doesn't know what else to tell him, and she just yells at him, "You can't win." Oh,
Can't
I just broke my
win.
heart saying it out loud. Oh, I'm down.
Right.
I'm down for the count.
Adrian.
Just having Adrian tell Rocky he can't win. Oh, it's a devastating line, but he
Brutal
overcomes.
turn.
Yeah,
She
yeah,
turned heel on him.
just for a moment at least. Yeah,
uh that is a great movie and a great just overall franchise. It's still going today. I mean,
with
I
the great
saw the
movies.
other night Creed
Mhm.
3, I believe, is going to be coming to theaters soon. So the way they've extended this, and Stallone got to make a few extra movies out of the deal, and I'm sure and make several millions of dollars. But this turned out to be huge for Stallone and really catapulted his career. This franchise did.
Mhm.
So another great sports movie. Well, we've covered kind of some drama and some real life. I wanted to get some comedy in here. Uh, Believe it or not, I love The Water Boy, man.
Yeah.
Like, what a great another great football movie. Like, this was my introduction to Adam Sandler. Outside of a little bit of Saturday Night Live. But the Water Boy was one of the first real comedies I ever seen, I believe, as a child. I was probably 9 or 10 when this movie came out. Um, my introduction to Rob Schneider and all these great guys. To me, this movie was just so funny. There's so many funny lines and just silly, redneck Cajun stuff in it. But Kathy Bates was great as an overbearing, super religious mom. And Adam Sandler, I mean, they said this movie it grossed like $80 million back in the day, which was huge because
Yeah.
it was made pretty cheap. And it really did catapult Adam Sandler into superstardom. So I was going to see what's your thoughts on this movie? You were a bit older at the time when it came out. Did you like it as much as my
So
generation?
confession, not a big Adam Sandler guy.
Okay.
This is not necessarily my style. What I liked about the movie, and I did see it when it came out. What I liked about the movie is they made him a linebacker. That's like one of my
Right.
favorite parts. They didn't just throw him in a quarterback. You got to play defense, you know. It's a silly premise, but that doesn't mean it's
Right.
bad. Um, there's nothing wrong with a screwball comedy, man. I love Beavis and Butthead, and that's all just screwball humor
Right.
through and through. But we actually see a little character progression in this movie. His mom changes throughout
Right.
the movie, and
And he
we
does
see,
too
yeah, he does
with the
too. We see the
gain with
struggle
gaining in
between,
confidence.
yeah, the
Sorry,
struggle
go
with
ahead.
his coach, having to reconcile with himself what happened 20 years earlier with the other coach. It was the Fonz was the coach. I
The
can't remember his
Fonz,
character's name.
yes.
Yeah, I can't remember the name of the coach in the
Coach
movie.
Klein. Coach
Coach Klein.
Klein.
Yes, Coach Klein. Thank you. You know how he was really the brains behind the whole football program, but the other dude kind of gave him the okey doke and got him fired, and he got
Yeah,
his
he was
revenge. I
like,
mean, there's storylines that pay off. If you can put
sure.
up with the Adam Sandler comedy, and if you're an Adam Sandler fan, there's no such thing as putting up with it. You're just gonna enjoy it.
Right.
It's a bit heartwarming. It's a screwball comedy, but it's a bit
Yes.
heartwarming. It's good. It's good. I'm not a
Yeah.
Sandler guy, so I can't put it in my favorites, but I appreciate it, and I'm not going to tell anyone they're wrong for liking it. Obviously, it's whatever's up your alley, and Sandler, you can't argue with the dude's success. So there's obviously he's
Right.
got fans out there.
Yeah, I mean this movie made a ton of money, and it had just so many, again, memorable lines and funny characters. I think of Captain Insano. You know, Captain Insano shows no mercy. Like and like you said, the Fonz coming out of nowhere to be the head coach, and yeah, just so many great lines. Vicky Valancourt, she threatens to cut the guy's head off to
Yeah.
say. uh we'll wake his ass up, we've got a football game to win. Like, just so many great lines. You can do it. That came from this movie. Whenever you
Yeah.
hear somebody saying you can do it, that really started here with Rob Schneider, and then it ended up leading to him being in like 15, 20 other movies, literally just saying that one line. Like,
Uh-huh.
so this started the Adam Sandler franchise basically, and
Yeah, did this come out
it's
before?
still
Yeah,
going.
okay, all right.
I
I didn't
mean,
realize this was the first one. Cool. I didn't know that.
as far as I know, this was his first big movie,
His first
like
lead role. Okay.
yeah, Adam Sandler, and now they're getting ready to do Grown Ups 3 or 4, so he's still going today. He's still doing his comedy, and it may not have been that way without the success of The Waterboy.
Yeah,
So
true. That's absolutely true. And speaking of movies that were influential, this movie actually spawned an NHL franchise, kind of. We're
oh
talking
yeah,
about the Mighty Ducks. Now, I mean, the team was going to exist anyway, I think, but
sure.
for them to take the name was kind of cool. Yeah, Mighty Ducks. We went throw hockey a little love here, and I'm not sure if I'd rank this among my all-time favorite movies, but as a sports movie, it really gets the job done. I mean,
It's great.
it's a ragtag group of kids going up against the powerful team, and they have
Right.
to overcome. It's a formula. It's an absolute formula. But so is making pancakes, and no one sneers at making pancakes, eating the pancakes. So formula
Right.
is okay. And we get
Absolutely.
Gordon Bombay as the head coach, played by Emilio Estevez, and it just very easily just could have been the same movie it was without his backstory. And I don't think anybody would have noticed. But including his backstory and him being a member of the Hawks, which is the opposing team, and they win every single championship for like a million years in a row. But the
Right.
one year they lose was when he played for the team, and he missed the penalty,
He missed the
and
penalty.
it cost them the game. And you'd think he'd be happy with 24 out of 25 years, but that coach wasn't happy and kind of never let it go. And it was a kid, man. He was a kid. He took away his love for hockey, and an unfortunate incident for him at the beginning of the movie brings him back into a community service type situation where he needs to coach the hockey team, and he rediscovers his youth. And
Right.
the team, it's kind of like Remember the Titans without the drama, the way they have to get together. And obviously the stakes aren't nearly as high in real life, but
Right.
they get together and be a unit. And I think it actually teaches a good lesson for kids. And I think sports in general helps teach lessons to kids. But one of them is, man, sometimes you got to fight for the greater good, and sometimes it's not just about you.
Right.
Um, and I think this movie kind of puts that across. And it's almost impossible not to root for them in the movie. You root for them. The other team's
Absolutely.
nasty. They injure on purpose. Um, but yeah, I'm Mighty Ducks, man. I'm a fan.
No, this was a great movie. Another one that I can relate to as a kid for sure. I grew up in a fairly modest area. We not a super rich, family or anything. So, pulling together, scraping by, and self-sacrificing to for the greater good of the team, and not having the best equipment necessarily or having the best things, but being able to make stuff work for the love of the game.
Yeah.
And that's what I loved about this movie. That and the knuckle puck.
Knuckle puck, right?
It's
I think we all tried that at some point. We were much hockey players,
a
but
must-have. Yeah,
yeah, just like to see maybe even like a knuckle. Yeah, 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 yeah. It didn't shy away from being funny, but it still wanted to send a message out too.
absolutely. Great pick. All right, let's see. I think let's see, my last one for sports movies, and I did more football than pretty much anything, but it's there's more football movies than most other
Oh
sports.
yeah, I think so.
And we have a bunch of some honorable mentions as well. But I want to give some love to Friday Night Lights. I know you grew up in Texas and
Mm-hmm.
everything, and it means a
Mm-hmm.
lot to me. But just thinking about playing under the lights again and how special of a feeling it is gives me goosebumps. I mean, that the to me the TV show was better than the movie,
Sure.
but the movie was incredible still. And I just just really makes me miss playing under the lights. It encapsulates what it's like to be a successful team. And I mean, I was on a pretty successful basketball team going through high school, and we definitely got some extra perks from teachers and
Mhm.
local businesses, and the town as a whole. When you beat the number one team in state, back to back years, they rally around you, and you feel like a superstar when you're
Yeah.
going into Pizza Hut and they're, oh, the pizza's on us, don't worry about it. Or you're going into just different restaurants would have us over, feed the team. We could get anything we wanted for free. We could get away with a lot of stupid stuff, and it shows that side of it. And I seen it firsthand. I mean, I've had teachers delay homework and tests because we have a big game Friday or a big game Saturday. Could we do this on Monday instead of
Mhm.
Friday? I've I've had teachers. I didn't go to school one day. My grandmother had died, but I wanted to play that night to honor her. Yeah, don't worry about it. Policy is supposed to be if you don't go to school, you don't play,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
Um, so I've seen that side of it, and this movie kind of does a great job showing how the town and principals and teachers for the most part. Well, if you have a successful team, will do
Right.
anything to help you
Mhm.
win. I just thought it was cool to see that take, and the football was obviously great too. They showed a lot of the drills we would do, how hard it is, how hot it is, how you got to really grind and fight, and just an incredible football movie and show.
So, as a native Texan, I can tell you for sure that there is little to no exaggeration when it comes to how big high school football is over there. Yeah, and Friday Night Lights does a very good job encapsulating that. Uh, the characters, forgive me, I don't know the characters' names as well, but the fullback's dad, the somewhat abusive guy, who
Tim
won his
McGraw,
state. Tim McGraw was the actor for sure. Yes, I
right?
can't remember the character's name, but Tim McGraw's character. Unfortunately, yeah, that's a pretty realistic portrayal of someone who feels like his life peaked at age 17, 18, and the kind of the aftermath of that. And he does a great job. I mean, who knew Tim McGraw was such a good actor? But yeah, Friday Night Lights, as far as the Texas football scene, it captures it really well. And anytime a movie can spawn a successful TV series, the whole thing came from a book anyway, but yeah, that just
Sure.
tells you the impact it had. Um, TV studio executives aren't anxious to greenlight TV shows. They see so many things, and you're lucky to get through just for a pilot, and you're lucky to even last longer than one season. They weren't going to do it just because the movie was okay. They're going to do it
Right.
because the movie was really good, and it really touched the nerve with a lot of people in a good way. It touched the nerve, and yeah, nothing wrong with a good. That's too fun. I didn't think there were two good football movies out there that were both dramatic. Steve proved me wrong. I guess I'd forgotten about these. I remember the Titans and Friday Night Lights are both excellent examples of when a football movie can be good. And yes, go ahead. Mhm.
Oh, I just finish your point. Finish
No,
your
yeah,
point.
that's pretty much it. No, we're good.
Oh, okay. I was just gonna say it also the TV show also spawned like some superstars.
Yeah,
Michael B. Jordan got his start playing quarterback in like season 4 or 5 of Friday Night Lights on TV.
yeah,
I mean, that led to him to become the freaking Black Panther, basically. I mean, in the that movie franchise and Creed,
you're
and
right. We're all
I
connected
mean,
here.
countless other, and Coach Taylor. I mean, he's been in several movies, but I thought he just played a perfect coach in that show, and spawned one of the greatest like catchphrases or tagline. In sports, you have a lot of corny,
Hmm.
seemingly corny little lines, but they really do hold of the truth. And clear eyes, full hearts, can't lose. That doesn't get you pumped up, because if you have your clear eyes
Uh,
and your heart is full for anything, whether it's sports, football, whatever, any passion,
uh,
you're not going to lose. And I took a lot from it, man. that kind of stuff. And when you get sad and down, and everybody has those days, just kind of remember clear eyes, full hearts, and you can't lose, man.
Yeah, that's awesome. All right. We're gonna wrap up. I'm gonna bring us back into the comedy realm just a little bit
Sure.
here. And
Heck
this
yeah.
is as far as pure comedy movies go, Coming to America and this movie kind of rank up there as my favorites, and I believe they came out the same year. I'm going with Major League, man.
Oh,
And
so good.
Major League. So earlier we were talking about Rocky Four, and even it's one of my favorite movies. And even I would say, maybe like objectively speaking, it's not such a great movie. Maybe it's just up to your personal preference whether you like it. That's not the case for Major League. Man, I think Major League is actually a properly good movie,
Great
and
movie.
there's just a lot of quotables that we're not going to necessarily requote here because of little naughty language, but there's just so many
Sure.
things I just find myself in my daily life just a bit outside, or it's too
Right.
high, it's too high. Just little stupid stuff that makes a conversation funny. And me and a buddy of mine, Bobby Brooks, at my old job, we were just remembering that scene with the too high. For those you haven't seen it, they're arguing whether it's a home run or not because they think the ball's too high, which of course there's no such thing as too high for a home run. And we just exploded in laughter remembering that scene. I'm sure we got a lot of what the hell's wrong with these guys looks from a bunch of people, which I'm used to anyway. But and it's got that scenario as well where they've got to come together. They're a ragtag group, and instead of kids this time, they're adults, and they all have different stories. One's a washed up major leaguer, one's a primped up major leaguer, one is a voodoo master, one's
Right.
coming out of prison. Just all of the one wasn't even invited to the team, but he made it anyway. It's just the way they all come together. The whole Jobu stuff killed me.
Oh yeah.
The music in the movie is really good. It's really
Perfect.
good. Uh, the whole
It
relationship
relaunched
between yeah,
Wild Thing. Like
yeah, it
made
did.
it
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 absolutely
remade
did.
it like it made it in a whole took it to a whole nother level.
Yeah, and the whole relationship between Jake and Rene Russo's character Lynn, couldn't remember her
Lynn.
name. Their relationship was fun to watch. Just every little thing that was going on in the movie, it all tied in together. An ensemble cast isn't always easy to pull off with adults because people want their billing. I guess with the
Right.
kids it's easier, but yeah, everyone came together. Wesley Snipes wasn't really much in his career yet, so Tom Berenger was more, I think, of a TV star outside of Cocoon. And
Yeah.
Charlie Sheen wasn't quite Charlie Sheen yet. You know why he wasn't Charlie Sheen like we know him today for
Oh,
sure, but Rene Russo hadn't really broke through yet. So I think that everyone was willing to kind of share billing in that movie and to be a proper ensemble. And man, it made me a kind of a fan of the Cleveland Indians, man.
right.
My little league team was also the Indians. So I was like the only person in the 2016 World Series that rooted for the Indians over the Cubs because everyone wanted the Cubs to win, obvious reasons. But I'm like, hey, the Indians have a long
Pittsburgh's
streak too. So yeah, they're not known as the Indians anymore. Of course, they're now the
right.
Cleveland. What are the Guardian? I
Guardian.
always want to say Gladiators. Gladiators might be better. The
Anything
Cleveland.
would be better than Guardians.
I guess, unless you got like freaking Drax the Destroyer as your as
Uh,
your mascot, but that's for another day. But yeah,
sure.
Major League is great, and I like that it kind of ended where it did. It didn't just necessarily go on to the rest of the playoffs and the World Series. The antagonists of the movie were the Yankees. They beat the
Right.
Yankees, and that's all we needed. And that's all
And
we
they
needed.
saved the
Major League Two let
franchise.
us know. Yeah. Major League Two let us know they didn't win the World Series. Major League Two is not as bad as everyone. It's not great. It's not great. It's not great.
Right.
But it's not horrible. It's a D. It's not an F.
It has
Major
its
League Three is an
moments.
F.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, Major League One is an A. And I say that not just as a fan of the movie, but just in general. I don't think you have to even like baseball to like the movie. You can understand the premise. There's a little,
It's a love
there's a
story in a
little
way.
love story in there. There's conflict, all sorts of things, and they don't get super technical on the baseball aspect of it. And I think that was on purpose. I think that was designed to draw in a bigger audience. And you would never think a movie like this could be a hit or that it could be really good. But man, lightning in a bottle with this one, man. Major League
Um,
is a super strong recommendation from me.
no, that's a great movie. Kind of my introduction to Charlie Sheen for, and how can you not remember the wild haircut and then, the crazy fans
Yeah.
like, well, bring in Wild Thing, the crazy drunks, and then, they slowly start building the stadium up and more people are coming, and they've got this crappy owner that just wants to sell the team for the money, but they overcome it and end up winning enough to where they get to keep the team, and just there's so many great lines, and the music was so good in that movie though, and I mean, still to this day there's players that come up to Wild Thing.
Yep.
I can think of a wrestler that comes out to Wild
Yep.
Thing, the
Mox.
same exact version. Yeah. So and still today, like, if you watch baseball games, they'll be like, they refer to Ricky Vaughn like he was a real person,
Yeah.
like,
He was real to
they'll be like,
me.
this guy throws like Vaughn, or he's a bullpen guy and he walks out to Wild Thing, or like, you could tell it had a major influence on a lot of major leaguers
Yeah.
in today's baseball.
And
So great
absolutely
pick.
two things I want to mention before I sign off on this movie. Of all the great lines, the most underrated one to me is when they're in the spring training or they're getting the invites to spring training and they're complaining about some of the players on the team. It's like these guys, half of these guys have never even had a prime. And then the one guy points out, this guy here is dead. And she's like, well, cross him off then. for some reason, that line hits me hard. It's so funny. And I have to mention Bob Euchre. Oh my goodness.
Oh yeah.
Harry Doyle is probably one of my 3 or 4 favorite sportscasters of all time, and he's not even a real person. I mean, I mean, just the way he ends the movie, that call at the end, the Indians win it, the Indians win it. Oh my God, the
Oh
Indians
my
win it. I got
God.
chills. I've got chills. Right now, I have it's one of my favorite calls of all time. And it's in a
So
movie.
good.
It's in a movie. So yeah, Bob Euchre, God bless the man. He is Mr. Baseball, man. And it would have been a good movie without him, but he, I think, puts it over the top. Yeah.
Cherry on
Yeah,
top.
the cherry on top of, like, I mean, like a good, like the best cherry, like a maraschino cherry, the best cherry you ever had. So yeah, guys, that was our, a little glimpse into some of our favorite movies of all time in the sports realm. Obviously, we didn't get to all of them, and this
Sure.
is something that we can do a part 2 on down the line. Not necessarily next week, but it's something we'll revisit one day, because I know I left a couple movies out on purpose. Um,
Me too.
and yeah, it just kind of fit with the theme of the episode, and kind of cover different sports. There's other movies we can talk about for sure, and that's again something we can do in the future. But until that day comes, we want to thank you for joining us today. If you haven't yet hit that subscribe button, please do. And now that you've seen the video and you see how awesome it was, and how Steve and I love interacting with each other and sharing that stuff with you, go ahead and hit that like button on the video. Comment on anything that comes to mind. Please share the video with others. If you can get other people to subscribe to the channel, we'd love you for it. Hey, we're just looking to grow. Um, like I've said before, I've said this more than once. Steven and I basically run this show 4 or 5 times a week. We just happen to record it the one time and to share it with you guys. And we do this because we love it, but we also would like to see our audience grow a little bit. Give us a chance to do it some more. And in the meantime, I'm going to that's my piece. I thank you everybody very much. Send it over to Steven for the final sign off and for all the Twitterist information.
Yeah, definitely. Like Pete said, like, subscribe, share, follow. We've grown quite a bit, really, from start till now, and I encourage all of you, please comment your favorite sports movies or sports related TV shows / movies. As he said, last night we were talking about this, and I thought I had my list of movies, and then oh shoot, I forgot about this one. Oh, I forgot about that one. Like, there's just so many great
Yeah.
ones that we didn't even have time to talk about, or we'd be here all night. blue chips and semi-pro, and they're just the list goes on and on and on. But please share your list, share this episode, like, comment, all that. And you can follow us on Twitter at Catching Flies W1. I'm on Facebook. Pete's on Facebook. Like, share, send us your list. We'd love to chop it up with you guys and break movies down. And as always, if there's a certain topic you would like to see us cover or dive into, by all means, send it in on Twitter and Facebook, and we'll see what we can do. But I think that's going to wrap it up for this week's episode. Did you have anything left
I'm
that
good.
you needed? You're
No,
good.
let's do this.
All right. I think that'll wrap us up then. And until next week, go catch a fly.